You're listening to the Hunt Stealth Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Uffens. Enjoy the show. Excited to have Josh Kirchner on the podcast today. Josh is a hunter, creator, writer. He does a little bit all of it in the hunting space, and he's been blessed to be able to do this full time now, which we were talking about a little bit before we hit record here. But you can follow Josh online at the Dialed In Hunter. Make sure that we put links to everything in the show notes. But Josh, I appreciate you joining me today, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I'm always excited to hop on the horn and talk hunting with like-minded folks. So, yeah, excited to be here.
Awesome. Hey, tell me, for people that maybe aren't familiar with your story, tell me how you kind of got into the hunting space as a career.
Yeah, I never planned on that happening, actually. It just kind of fell into place. So I grew up, going on like an annual deer hunt with my dad every year, and that's kind of as far as hunting ever went for me. And then when I got into my mid 20s, I really started like wanting to do it more. I was like, man, I want to like really like I want to go on more hunts. I want to go on bear hunts. I want to go on, all the hunts that I can, elk hunts. And really learn how to do all this stuff better. And through doing that, I started a blog called Dialed In Hunter, which is still active today. This is some 10 years ago or something like that when I kind of dove in, maybe more. And I started a blog just to kind of like have an online journal for myself. I really didn't expect, people, a lot of people to read it. It was kind of more of something for me to look back on and kind of reflect on failures and successes and stuff like that. And maybe if someone did, a newer hunter come across it, they would maybe resonate with what I was saying. Um, Maybe help them out in their journey and learning how to do all this stuff. Because it's kind of like, I mean, it's like drinking through a fire hose, really. Like the whole hunting thing, very difficult. And back when I was really starting to learn all this stuff, um, people were really, really tight-lipped about like tactics and especially spots and stuff like that. So I kind of felt like I was alone a little bit, when I was like really trying to figure all this out, all the hunting thing. So I decided I would document it. And through doing that, I guess there were some editors that were reading my blog, and I had no idea. Um, and Clay Newcomb actually reached out to me shortly after I killed my first bear, and he asked me, he's like, "Hey, do you want to write a story for Bear Hunting Magazine?" And he's like, "I can pay you X amount of dollars." I was like, "What?" I was like, you want to pay me to write about hunting? And that's how I got my first article published. It was because Clay reached out to me on Facebook and got the article published in the magazine. He gave me the cover too. I got the cover shot on that, and
Wow.
it just kind of snowballed from there. And so now, fast forward through writing, my wife is a photographer by trade. She's a wedding photographer, and I kept bugging her when I was first writing articles. I'm like, "Hey, can you like help me get these photos and stuff?" After a while, she was like, "Look, I need to teach you how to do this, okay? Like I love doing this for you, but you're taking too much time away from my wedding stuff." So that's how I learned photography. Started doing that, and then the video side of things I really really love making hunting documentaries now. One of my huge passions with what I do. And the funny thing about that was I didn't want to do that either when back in the day. My brother started filming me with a cell phone on hunts, and that's how we came up with our first hunting films. Um, but the more we did it, the more I saw, oh wow, we're telling stories. This is what I do for writing. I tell stories, And the sad reality about today is that not everyone reads, Ryan. So
This is true.
yeah, so I was like, man, um, maybe I should try my hand at this filmmaking thing and try to still tell stories through that and apply my writing to my films. Um, and that's what I do now. I still write. I write for a lot of different people. And create content full time. It just kind of got to the point where um, it became too much. I was a roofer for 15 years. My dad still owns the company today. Um, and I remember COVID hit, and 95% of our clientele for roofing was senior citizens where we were working, and they did not want people coming to their house during COVID. So work kind of dropped off for me, and I was like, man, I got this thing over here. I've been making a little bit of extra money on, putting a little bit of time into it. I wonder what would happen if I put all my time into it. And so I did that. I was in the middle of writing a book at the time. I finished the book and just never looked back. And that was almost 5 years ago. 5 years ago now. I've been full time at this. So
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, people have such short attention spans today.
yeah.
And they're the other thing that I try and encourage like my kids, I'm like, just take the time to read. Just read because there's so many like benefits that come from that. I mean, I can't remember the study and I'm probably going to completely get the number wrong, but I think they said if you read 10 minutes a day, it reduces the likelihood of you developing like Alzheimer's by like 30% or something
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh.
And yeah, now hang on a sec. I want to Google that real quick. Sorry that we're um, I want to see what the old World Wide Web says on Alzheimer's because you throw out a stat like that, um, and well, and of course I can't search it and find it. Anyway, keep going. I apologize, but anyway, the writing side of things, like I love writing.
Mhm.
Um, I've had done dabbled with that in the past. I've never really thought of writing a book or anything like that, but um, writing is a way of storytelling and documenting, and the other thing too, as we talked about like people's attention spans is like the art of storytelling, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I've had the opportunity to talk with like Donnie Vincent and like
Mhm.
Brad Hunt and Brian Call, and storytelling is an integral part in like pulling people in and helping people develop passions because I don't know if you are aware of this or not, but I just started hunting 4 years ago.
Oh,
Like
cool.
I didn't grow up hunting, but it's seeing guys like that that are out there telling these
Mhm.
stories and living these adventures, and I'm going, man, that would be fun. And my son was the one who kind of had started getting us into that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's one of those things. I think it's growing. There's more of a need for it, especially for dudes. Like there's a lot of women getting into hunting now too, but I think there's like it's interesting to me like what you just told me. Like you got into hunting 4 years ago. That this like adult onset hunter thing is kind of new in my opinion. And
well,
it's
you've got guys
interesting.
like Joe Rogan and
Yeah.
Jocko and all those guys that get into it. It's like, oh, well, if they
Yeah,
can do it,
right, but I really think it's attributed to just like how our lives have changed as we've developed as a species. Okay? So like back in the day, like hunting was like a big thing for dads. The dads would take their kids hunting, but like as office jobs grew, right? And there's like more and more dudes like sitting behind computers and stuff, and they don't have the time. Maybe not, it's not that they don't want to go hunting, but maybe they don't have the time. then that's less people influencing their kids to get into hunting. But somehow, folks like yourself end up stumbling across it and want to get into it later in life. And I think that's super cool, man. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. I think that is like proof right there that hunting is like 1000% in our DNA, and we're like meant
Yeah.
to do
Yeah, well, I mean, there's that primal desire to be able to provide, right? And
it.
in today's society, providing is having a home
Yeah,
and being and like life being able to go to the grocery store and buy food. And, your kid turns 16. Do I have a car for them to drive?
right.
And it's a far cry from, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it seems like forever ago, but 200 years ago, I mean, people were out trying to figure out, like, hey, let's go see what's out west. Like,
Yeah,
what's out there? How are we going to get there? I don't know. Like,
yeah.
let's
We're gonna
hook up
walk.
like the horse and buggy and yeah, let's walk across the country.
Yeah.
And, you know, where I'm raised here in Utah, like you hear about that, like the pioneers and things like
Mhm.
that. And I guess maybe it was more than just 200 years ago, but still, like, it's not that long ago. Like, I mean, you sit down and think about that, and providing was like, hey, I, I'm going to the grocery store, honey. I'm going to go see if I can find like a rabbit or
Mhm.
like a deer or some animal to shoot that I can then scan, bring back. Oh, and by the way, like, could you make me a jacket out of this? Like, it was not
Yes.
that long ago. And so, yeah, I do think that that's still ingrained into the DNA. And there's that primal urge for people to go out and kind of like reconnect with the land because I mean, like I was telling you, like I work in advertising, right?
Mhm.
And when I first got into advertising, I remember hearing a statistic that, like, hey, in order for someone to even recall your ad, they need to see it 7 to 8 times for them to have any type of recall of your brand. Well, now the average person sees over 500 ads a day,
Yeah.
500 ads a day. And so they're like, it's 48 times. They have to see your ad 48 times before there's any type of recall.
That's
And
unbelievable.
it's just, yeah, we're bombarded. And so people are wanting to disconnect. It's hard to put down the phone and it's hard to,
Yep.
walk away from everything. But it's just that urge to get out and get in the wilderness and um, test your body, test your mind, test your
Mhm.
skills.
Yeah.
It's like the guys, when a couple weeks ago, it's like, hey, could 100 men take on and beat a gorilla? Well, again, that's like that primal urge. I don't think there's any way. I think like the rage and violence that a gorilla could unleash is unlike anything man is comprehensible of, and the strength
Yes.
is just like, I, if it's
Yeah.
if it's bare hands, like, you're not killing it.
No, men
Anyway,
have. I think you're just like men have something to worry about. That's what it is.
yeah,
A gorilla doesn't care. Its only
yeah,
job is to live.
yeah, fight or flight. Like, that's how it was raised. But hey, so real quick, while we're on here, on your website, tell me a little bit about your book, Becoming a Bowhunter. Like,
Oh, yeah. So I actually have two books. Becoming a bow hunter and becoming a backpack hunter. Becoming a backpack hunter was that first book that I mentioned when COVID happened, and I was like, I got to finish this. And both books are very similar in their layout and my approach to writing them. Becoming a backpack hunter is a from front to back look at backpack hunting, like from the point of you don't even know if you want to do it all the way to you're packing an animal out back to your rig. Everything in between, gear, everything. Becoming a bow hunter is the same approach. It's you don't even have a bow. It's like so I talk about like how do you go about buying a bow? How do you connect with your like archery community and stuff like that, and like diving into tactics and how to tune a bow, all that stuff from front to back is laid out in that book. And it was really, the reason I wanted to write. both of those is because when I was coming up, and I'm still learning, right? But you never stop learning. But when I was coming up, I had a lot of questions without a whole lot of answers, and some of those answers were hard to come by, and some of them I had to gain really just through experience. So I wanted to really make this basic outline of stuff for people getting into this stuff that maybe have like quote unquote dumb questions that maybe they're afraid to ask more experienced
Mhm.
people. Because I feel like um, a lot of stuff flies under the radar for a lot of the more experienced folks, and what is just going through the motions for them, they don't even realize some of the things that they're doing. I do the same thing, you know. But then when some newbie comes and is like, "Hey, why are you doing that?" and you sit there and you go, "Wow, I had never thought about that." It's just because that's how I do it, you know.
Yeah.
So that was the whole reasoning behind both of those. Both of those are I self-published both of those books, wrote them right here in my office, and they're actually on Amazon if anybody wants to go check them out. So,
Sweet. Yeah. I'll get the links to those and throw those into the show notes as well. But you could also just go to dialedinhunter.com and
yep.
click on my books and find Josh's books there. But yeah, sorry, I just kind of scrolling through the website here and I'm like, we didn't really touch on that. But
No,
I
yeah.
think having a resource like that it's crucial. I mean, because like I said, with me getting started, I still like I, I've been doing this podcast now for 7 months, and I feel like I've
Mhm.
learned so much.
Yeah.
And it's like I was talking with Brian Call, and I'm like, and I was recording a podcast with him, and I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do, and he's like, no, he's like, you're misunderstanding, like everything that you're saying that you've learned. He's like, you're misunderstanding it. I'm like, okay, so I'm an idiot. Tell me how to get it done, because he's like,
Hmm.
I'm a ninja. Like if I can find an elk, like I know how to get in on them, and like they're gonna die.
Yep.
And anyway, so I'm like, so this is my strategy. And yes, I'm excited for him to release his podcast with me being told I'm an idiot on there. But anyway, um, but he's like,
Well,
no.
dude.
And then he explained it to me why I was misunderstanding the information that I was getting. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I was understanding the information that I've gathered in one way. And once I kind of explained to him like where I was at and the details, he's like, no, no, no. He's like, you're thinking about it wrong.
Yeah.
And he spelled it out. So I mean, I joked and said, "Oh, like what kind of idiot doesn't figure that out?" But you don't know what you don't know, and even with learning information, and that's one of the things that and you talked about that. Like, there's so much that you've just learned from experience. Is you have to get out and hunt. You have to give yourself opportunities to kill. You have to give yourself opportunities to learn and grow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be one of the guys that every like 10 years you kill an animal.
Yeah, it's the really hard part about all of it is we get better at things through repetition, right? Like like I used to skateboard a lot when I was a kid, okay? And like in order to learn a trick, I would do that trick like 100 times in front of my house, right? I would try it over and over and over and over and over again. You don't get to do that with hunting, okay? Especially the killing part, like you have to work insanely hard to even get that opportunity. So, in order to get good at that part of this whole thing, you really have to spend a lot of time in the field. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable, okay? And to get yourself those opportunities, because if you don't, you're never going to get the reps in to know what it's like to be at full draw, have your pin sitting on the lungs of a deer, and know what that feels like. Okay, because I promise you, if you've never been there, okay, I promise you the target in your backyard, it is not the same thing. Okay, like things are very hectic, things are moving so fast but yet so slow all at the same time, and you are literally, I'm going to say it again, you are literally trying to drink from a fire hose when you're in these small blips of time. Okay, so in order to get good at it, you really just have to immerse yourself in it and be willing to fail, because all those failures, the times that you like mess up, those are all like little puzzle pieces, man. And the more you do that, the more you're going to learn of what not to do, and then that's going to lead you to what to do.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I mean,
it's funny
it's
that you talk about puzzle pieces, right? Because I've got like a 2-year old granddaughter, and she has this puzzle that she started putting together, right? Big old
Uh-huh.
dinosaur puzzle. And my wife had done it with her, and then I over the weekend like sat down and I did it with her one time. And every day I go up, she's like, "Papa, like I want to do this puzzle," right? So we sit down and she gets the piece. I mean, they're the big, like 4-inch pieces, and she looks at it and sees where it's supposed to go, but she can't quite get the piece to fit. She like knows it goes there, but she can't get it to fit right. Like, you got to turn it this way.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she's been doing it for a week now. Now it's like she gets it, she looks at it, and she just slaps it down, and it's like she's cruising.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that's life and everything. The more
Yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hour rule, right?
Yep.
That he talks
Yep.
about. It's just, you have to get out there and do it. And, I've been out for the past 4 years, and I've gone out, when I was chasing my elk, I was, I would go out for one weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and I had one opportunity, didn't have a shot on vitals, clear shot on vitals. So I was at full draw, but I didn't take it. But
Mm-hmm.
then I started going out with like Dustin, who you were talking with, and we get out on some mule deer, and we had opportunities, but he was after a certain size animal and he wanted a mature buck. And, but we could have like me having that experience, like putting ourselves in the right position to where at like 37 yards, he's like, I didn't have the tag, he did.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just going, I'm not going to shoot it. But man, did I learn some things just
Yeah.
having been there and seeing how the animals behave. And that was the first time I'd been out chasing mule deer. Anyway, but we had gone out multiple times. We would
Mm-hmm.
get up, go up early. We'd meet early in the morning, go up before work, go, and every day we were seeing opportunities and learning what the animals were doing. And that was more than I had been out really. I mean, I'd gone out and done some scouting in that when I was chasing my elk, but we were going out every morning, and there was a specific buck that we were wanting to try and get on. We never could get on him
Mm-hmm.
close enough. I mean, they're smart. There's a reason
Yeah.
you see some of these bucks that are like big, and
Oh
you're like,
yeah.
oh, I want to shoot that. And they're like, yeah, well, you're going to have to learn how to not let me wind you. You're going to have to be
Yeah.
there early, or you're going to have to be there late. And it's crazy just spending that time, what it can do for your skill set just in general as a hunter.
Oh yeah, 100%, dude. And I'm sure that was so helpful actually seeing someone do it. Like because you can sit there and think about things in your head about how you can read all the books you want, watch all the videos, but like until you're in that moment by yourself and you're like, man, I don't know what to do. But if there's someone there that can kind of, show you the motions like Dustin did, now like you have a little bit clearer picture on things, right? Like
Yeah.
on how to go about maybe even if it's just like how to find deer. It's just something as basic as that. Like seeing someone do that, like that just accelerates things so much, man.
Yeah. What has been um, like one thing that you've learned, like in your hunting career, that maybe it was like a simple thing, but maybe like a tough lesson to learn, or that just that what didn't come to you like naturally? That meant as you look back, you're like, man, had I been doing this,
Hmm.
I could have been successful faster, or
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, it's 100%. We talked a little bit about this before the show, but like 100% holding myself back from success. So like when I was my first years doing this, trying to learn the hunting thing. It didn't matter what weapon, bow, rifle, all the same stuff. I would oftentimes, talk myself out of even going on a stalk or anything like that because I would come up with all these like scenarios in my head. So like let's say I was mule deer hunting with a bow, okay? I would see a buck like way off and I'd be like, well, I don't know. He's probably not going to be there by the time I get there. I don't know what the wind is doing over there. I have to walk through this dry grass over there. That's going to be too loud. I would come up with all these things to talk myself out of it. And in the end, now, years and years later, I look back at those times and I'm like, gosh, the only way, like what we just spoke about, the only way to get good at this stuff is through repetition. And if you're holding yourself back and talking yourself out of putting yourself in these positions, you're holding back the reps. You're not getting those. You need at bats in order to get good at it and get and actually achieve success. So there was a lot of times when that would happen, and it was all a mental thing, totally mental. It could like other stuff could have been too, like, oh, I think a storm's coming or something, right? You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't want to go after there's a storm coming, because you know who know, come up with a reason why. Like one year in Colorado, once I got through that, I shot a buck in a hailstorm with my bow. I was like literally standing there with a smile on my face, lightning bolts. You know what I mean? Probably not the smartest thing, but I was like, it's like these storms pop up really fast. I just went over there and like waited on them for like an hour, stood up, bingo, and put an arrow through them. So like I think that's the biggest thing, man. That for me, like looking back, I think I could have accelerated my success if I would have just been like more willing to just go after it and not be afraid of it not working out. Because if it doesn't work out, okay, what's the big deal? Go do it again. Find another one. And you're just going to get better at things by doing that. So that's probably the biggest thing I would say.
Well, and it sounds like you've done that with your career as well, right? I mean,
Yeah, yes, that was really hard for me. Um, my dad, when I was a roofer, my dad owned the company and stuff, and um, that making that decision to break away from my father, this like legacy that he had, that was really hard, but I looked ahead and I was like, my dad's probably gonna be stoked for me because he loves hunting. And I was right. He's super excited. He's always asking me about what I'm doing and stuff like that. But taking that leap, just like going on a stock, like taking that leap and actually putting putting every step forward, that's the hardest part. But then once you do it, you go, I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm gonna figure this out. And that is hunting. That is hunting. You can't be afraid of not succeeding. If you're afraid of not succeeding, you got to find something else to do.
yeah. Well, from the horse's mouth, man. I mean, Josh, you are the epitome of that, just taking those chances. And, I'm sure everything hasn't worked out exactly as you had probably envisioned it. Like you said, when you started writing you started your blog, your blog, writing articles, like you said, you never thought that I'd be doing this full time, but you
No,
just have
I
to
didn't.
take the opportunities that are given to you. And that, Clay reaches out. He's like, hey, we'll pay you to write for this. And then you get on the cover of the magazine, and it's just things start to spiral. And if you take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you, more opportunities open up.
Yep,
and
100%.
and that obviously parallels in hunting. Like you said, a storm comes in, if you know there's a deer over there, like use it to your advantage. They're going to probably bed down and you're going to have some cover to be able to maybe close the distance. When what I don't want to go get soaked.
Yeah,
You could sit back, and then after the storm passes through, you know you, that opportunity's gone if you didn't take advantage of it. But you went over there, sat down, and then what was he said, like an hour, buck
yeah,
pops up,
hmm,
boom, game
yep,
over.
yep.
Or I guess that's when the fun begins, right?
Well, yes.
There,
Yes, that was a
there,
long, heavy night.
yeah. But yeah, but it's those things that like I can't wait to kill like my first elk or mule
Yeah,
deer and just be gassed from like the pack out.
yeah. No,
It's
I heard somebody say a long time ago, like they described it as the pain we seek. You know, it's
oh
like
yeah.
you want to experience that, And my buddy newer, he came up whitetail deer hunting with his family. He's newer to the Western thing though, and every time the guy's just like gun ho for bears, he's like, "Oh my gosh, I just want to suffer, dude. Like I want to feel the pain of packing a bear out of this spot." And I'm like, "It's gonna happen, dude. Don't worry, it'll happen. You'll get your first bear, but you just gotta, you know, keep your nose down and keep grinding, and it'll happen."
Yeah. So speaking of bear hunting,
Yeah.
um, tell me about your most recent spring bear hunt.
Oh, dude, it was like I mean, the perfect spring bear hunt to me. Like all the reasons I love bear hunting, all in 5 days in the backcountry. It was, it's always a gnarly hike in to the camp that I go to. I think it took it was like a 5 hour hike or something like that to get into camp, and felt great. Did so much training before season, physical training, and I was really feeling that. I felt amazing. Got in there. We saw bears every single day. Kept seeing this one boar, and bears are incredibly hard to judge from afar to see like is this a big bear? Is it a smaller bear? They don't have antlers on their head, right? Like so it's like you kind of have to like do things like, okay, well, he's standing next to this pine tree. That pine tree is probably, X amount wide. Um, he looks small. That's kind of what you have to do, pay attention to how they move. Bigger bears more float about. They move slower. Smaller bears kind of bounce around like a pinball. Um, but so we kept seeing this bear, and a few times we tried to get a look at him to see, how big the bear was. The third attempt of trying to get closer to this bear, he comes out, he's at like 750 yards, and I decide, you know what? That's not a big bear. I'm not gonna shoot that. I'm not gonna 750 is too far anyways, but I'm not gonna try to get closer to him. Well, as we're watching this bear, all of a sudden he stands up on his hind legs, looks over to our left, and then just runs. Like just like sprints out of the area. And so right away, immediately, I check my wind. I'm like, there's no way that he winded us. The thermals are going up. The wind is going to our left, or sorry, yeah, to our left. There's only one logical explanation here. There's a bigger bear somewhere that he smelled. So we sat on that spot for another hour or so, and decided let's back out. Let's go back over to our camp. We're going to have a much better view of this entire area if we get back to there. So we go back, and sure enough, man, like 15 minutes, 10 minutes before dark, I see this black thing sticking out from the side of a tree from like naked eye, 1,500 yards away. So I put it in my spotting scope, and just like I'm like, okay, that's definitely a bear. But then he turns out from behind the pine tree and just like shows me his front shoulders and stuff, just stomps his way down the hill. I'm like, okay, that's what that bear was scared of. And had no time to go after him, but based on what happened, we how these things work. These bears are they fight over food. So how I looked at that was this bear just took over that feeding area. Okay, so I told my camera guy, we filmed. This is all on film. We filmed all this. Working on the full film right now. He I'm like, listen, we're gonna wake up tomorrow morning. We're gonna try to glass him up. If we don't see him, we're gonna go set up on him because he's there. He's 100% there. So I'm drinking my coffee in the morning the next day, and naked eye, I see this black dot out on this open hill. And I'm like, okay, that's got to be him. I look through the binoculars, that he's right in line with where he was traveling last night. He probably moved 300-400 yards. Let's go. And we bomb over there. I get set up. I couldn't even use my bipod. It was such a weird like setup. I was on a rock that was facing up, but then the bear was down. He was below me. So I had to take my bipod off, and I used the lid of my backpack as a front rest. I used my bino harness as a rear rest. Ranged him, waited for him to come out, he gave me a quartering away shot. I pulled the trigger and see him run up the hill, and then I don't see anything anymore. And I'm talking to my camera guy. I'm like, dude, I know I hit him. I don't know if he's dead or not though, blah blah blah. So he reviews the footage. He goes, "Oh no, he's dead. He rolled down the hill." Which I didn't see in the chaos of what happened. And so we the crazy part about all this, aside from the how this all happened already, was we were not ready for this at all. It was morning time. We did not have the water. We had to go back to camp, do 800 feet in elevation to get water, come back. Then we had to ascend 1,000 feet up because a lot of this is cliffed out. So there's only so many ways to get to the bear. Had to go up 1,000 feet, go over, get in line with the bear, and then drop 2,000 feet to get to where the bear was. Okay, it took all in all at the end of the day, we left camp at noon and we didn't get back to camp until 8:30 p.m. with the bear. And then we still had 5+ miles to go out the next day to get back to the truck. So it was like it was a full day's work, man. you know. Um but like looking back on all that, it was just perfect, dude. It's like the struggle was there. Like it was like we were grinding to get that bear back. We are grinding just to get to the bear, and it just we got lucky. We had a little bit of everything in terms of weather. Had some rain, got cold, got hot, windy, got socked in, and we got a few windows of good days where the bears just were out walking around. So that was that. Yeah, I got back to the truck and made the glorious like 18-hour drive home.
So, in your post, you said it was a reminder, and even how you started was you said it's a reminder of everything you love about bear hunting: the varying weather, the torturous terrain, the
Yeah.
mental peaks and valleys,
Yeah.
and the striking sight of bears magically coming into view.
Oh yeah.
And we kind of what had led into this was talking about just giving yourself opportunities.
Hmm.
So the mental peaks and valleys, I feel like that is what, and I've experienced that. That's what can kill a lot of hunts.
Oh yeah.
Like, how do you combat? I mean, you seem like a guy that kind of thrives on that. That you love the challenge.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody that wants to hunt,
Hmm.
but like, how would you suggest that they get through the valleys and the
Yeah.
peaks?
What you're doing is a process, right? Like finding like what name the animal doesn't matter. I'll use bears as an example because we were just talking about that. The process of that is find the food, spend time glassing the food, find the bears, get close. If you care about the size of the bear, try to judge the bear, take the time, go through all of that. Um, I know that very well because of experience, like on how to find those animals. For someone that's new, it's harder though, because they don't have the positive reinforcement behind what they're trying to do. But I'm telling you, okay, like my first bear hunt ever, I was finding bear sign and going, well, I mean, like the book that I was looking at says this is bear sign. You know what I mean? Like that's how like newbie I was. Okay, so what you have to trust the process of what you're doing and see it through. That's the key there. And sometimes you'll luck your way into finding what you're looking for just by being there. You know what I mean? One time I was out bear hunting in I was on like day 8 by myself, and I'm on the phone with my wife. I'm like, I think I'm gonna come home. You know what I mean? Like I'm just not finding what I'm looking for. And she's like, she goes, you don't have anything else to do. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, I guess I'm just gonna go sit on this rock over here. So I go sit on the rock, and like 2 hours later, I watched a mountain lion try to kill a deer and ended up shooting my first mountain lion. So like that's what I'm saying. Like time in the field, even if you feel uneducated, go out and do what you think you're supposed to do, right? Like trust what you're doing. Look for the signs, spend the time out there, don't give up. Giving up is the biggest killer of all this. You know what I mean? So trusting the process, man. And that is that right there, like when things are slow. Okay, I know what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, and when things are slow, what's going through my head is, do I know how to do this anymore? You know what I mean? Like these things still roll through my head, and I've been bear hunting for a while now, and I still feel like that. I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. But the reality is, no, I do know what I'm doing. I'm just in this low spot, and you just need to ride that out, man. Okay, because you're not going to be down there forever. Eventually, you're going to find the hill. You're going to start going up, and you're going to get a little bit of a glimpse of light. Maybe that's a sighting. Maybe you come across a track. Okay, something is will happen. All right, but if you are not there to experience it because you got discouraged about being out there, well, then you just lost that whole experience.
Yeah. It it reminds me, like, in like movies that you see like nowadays,
Yeah,
people are kind of drawn to, or they have an affinity for, like, the stoic guy that can kind of just like sit back and relax and
yeah,
just keep quiet and watch things like unfold.
mhm, yeah,
And again, in today's society, we have this sensory overload that it's either it should have happened, it's not going to happen. I've got a camp I can get back to and relax
hmm,
at. I've got a home I can go to and just be done with this.
yep,
And so I think the mental game is such a crucial part.
hmm,
And that's something that I feel like I really am going to focus on this year, is the mental aspect, um, for me, because, you know, physically, like, I can walk miles. You
hmm,
put a heavy pack on me, like, I can carry a heavy pack. I don't go
hmm,
fast. I'm not fast, but I
hmm,
can just like keep going. And so, like, physically, I don't think I'm where I need to be, but I mean, I look back to where I was when I first started, and I'm not even the same person.
yeah,
But now, where I feel I get hit is that, like, I don't have much happening, and so therefore I'm just wasting time sitting here, and I need to move.
yeah,
And when reality, I might need to move,
good,
but I need to make sure that what I'm doing is strategically sound
hmm,
versus I need to move
yes,
because I want
yes,
to move because I'm not, nothing's happening.
yeah,
But kind of like you said, like, you went out and, went back home. Wife sent you back out, and then you get to take your first mountain lion.
yeah.
That, had you not gone back out there and just sat on that rock, you still might not have taken your first mountain lion. I don't know. I don't know how long ago it was, but
It was a long time ago, man. It was, yeah, that was I actually killed. I think that was my first year, like really diving into like hunting.
uh,
Um, and I hadn't even killed my first bear yet. I hadn't killed my first deer yet at that point. Mountain lion was the first like big game animal I ever killed, and that was that experience. And I had to go. over there solo. I was like, I packed that thing out solo. I drug it for 3 miles and I have the burn marks on the hide to prove it. Okay. Like it was just a wild experience, that I would have never experienced, had I given into the temptation of going home and eating a home cooked meal in a warm bed, getting out of the monsoon rains that we were having. Like, I don't know. To me, looking back on it now, on all like, you know, I don't want to call it necessarily adversity, but adversity on hunts, I guess, right? Um, those are just like they kind of shape you, and I'm glad that I've gone through that stuff. When you're sitting there riding out a storm or something like that, that's like therapeutic. It really like gives you a perspective on time because like you were saying, we're in this, we get like sensory overload, right? So with me still, like let's say I'm going on an 8-day hunt. The first 2 days of that are going to feel very slow to me because I'm used to doing this stuff. It's like you're on the computer, you're on your phone, you're like doing stuff for your for the kids, but you just never stop moving. So the fact that I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. It takes a little bit to like slow your roll to get to the pace of the mountains, as I've kind of referred to it as.
Hmm.
Um, and they absolutely move at a different pace than you do. They don't have soccer games to get to. They don't have any of that stuff. Like a deer is going to come out when he wants to come out, and that's that. Like there's been times I've stalked deer and gotten into stare downs with them for 15 minutes, and I'm like, "What are you doing? I have to shoot you." But I don't have a shot or something. He doesn't care. Their literally only job is to live, and they're very good at it. So patience, like with all of this, and like really, that's what I mean by like just
But
immersing yourself in it and embracing the experience. That's all part of it. It's not just the pulling the trigger thing. It's when you go on like a grinder hunt, you are going to come back a better person. I feel like I do. Like my head is like it's not jumbled up with a bunch of crap. I come home and I feel like I get think more clear,
yeah,
because I went out and kind of decompressed.
yeah. I think, I mean, I'll speak for me personally. I won't speak for everyone, but you get into hunting. Like I've decided like I'm only going to do archery until I kill an animal.
Okay.
um that's kind of when I got into it. That's where I got started, right?
Hmm.
But you get into that, and you get into it because like, oh man, this is going to be a challenge. This is going to be something tough. It's like we talked about, like you've got that primal urge. There's that DNA to go out and like be tough until you go out there and you have to be tough.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I have like a mile climb up this steep hill that I have to zigzag back and forth, and it's covered in deadfall and
Mhm.
scrub oak, and it's waist high. And in your mind, it's like, well, maybe under normal circumstances, I could cruise up that in 20 minutes.
Mhm.
Instead, you get into it, it's so thick that it takes you 3.5 hours to go 1 mile.
Yeah.
And you get up there, and I mean, I remember my son and I, we were doing this. We were going checking out a new area, trying to find it, and we got up there and looked back down where we had gone, and it was probably not a mile. It was probably like 3/4 of a mile. But we're
Mhm.
looking down, and I'm going, that took forever.
Mhm.
But I'm like, it's nice to know that if I had to, I can do that now.
Yep.
So like when you go to face that again in the future, it's like I've done this before.
Yep.
And I just think that's where like you said, the experience. I mean, there's the hunting, right? There's the
Mhm.
learning, but there's also the mental toughness that just comes from being out there, whether you get to draw back full draw on something or not.
Hmm.
Like just being out there, pushing yourself, figuring out like, oh, this is what my body's capable of. Like I can handle it.
Yeah.
And I give my son Jackson a hard time because I had, I mean, he was 24 last year when we went out on that hunt, maybe 23. I can't remember. Anyway, it was just before he had turned 24, but I stopped and I was like, you good? Like I kept like checking back on him. I mean, I'm 45. I'm not that
Hmm.
old, but I'm also 45
Yeah.
and like checking back. And my kid's like, he's a tough kid. He is a strong freaking kid.
Hmm.
And the kid's got mental grit. But for me, I was like, oh, I get to show out that like dad still has a little something in the tank,
Yeah,
something
that's
to
right.
give.
Yeah.
And so like when we're out there again in the future and something difficult comes along, like I know it's pushing him because he's like, I don't ever want, like I want to be the guy that's like waiting back. Now, when we were back on the easier ground, like I said,
Hmm.
I wasn't going fast. Like he was pushing the pace on that one, and I did have to stop, but I had just grinded for 3.5 hours
Yeah.
up this like 45-degree incline that was just an absolute nightmare. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the mental game, I agree with you, can ruin hunts and
Yeah.
and and take you out of opportunities before you're even in them, really.
Yep. 100%, dude. Yeah. It's the whole like killing stuff thing, that and getting opportunities, that stuff will happen if you are open to it and paying attention, but staying in the field. Like that's the key to it. Like if you want it to happen, it will. Okay, but if you don't give yourself the time to learn how to make it happen, to create opportunities, that's another thing. It's like, opportunity, they're not going to like sometimes, yeah, maybe a deer walks by you unexpectedly. I've had that happen, but creating opportunities and putting yourself in the position to be successful, that is another thing. And going the extra mile, doing stuff like, you know what? In order to see this buck in the morning, I have to leave the truck at 3:30 in the morning and make a 2-hour hike in the dark. That's what you need to do then. And there's a great deal of people who aren't willing to do that kind of stuff. And those people, I don't think they experience as much success, sadly, because of that. They're denying themselves of seeing the sun come up over the basin, when they get to that where they're going hunting. So yeah.
Yeah. Josh, as we kind of wrap up here, I have a question for you. What would you
Yeah.
say, shifting gears, talk gear talk, because I know you review gear and stuff.
Yeah, man.
What would you say is the most overrated piece of hunting equipment?
Your weapon.
Weapon?
Yeah. I think,
Elaborate a little bit.
yeah, I think on several levels, like people spend so much time on these like little tiny minute details, uh, in regards to their bow or their rifle, and they'll spend $10,000 on a rifle, right? But they don't invest in their knowledge. I have a $400 rifle in my safe still, and that thing's killed a lot of bears. Okay, it's the person behind the weapon. Like there's a lot of content out there on gear, and gear's really fun. I love trying out new gear. But if they're just like somebody starting out that's like, oh my gosh, I need to spend $3,000 on a bow setup. Let me tell you something. No, you don't. Like, get something that is going to allow you to get in the field. Don't I'm not saying to go buy a beater, okay? But like, get something modest and spend the rest of your money on tags and gas money so you can go and acquire the knowledge. Because I promise you, I don't care how dialed your bow is, I don't care how expensive it is. I don't care how new all of the accessories are on it. If you do not know how to use them in the field, it does not matter. It's a fancy paperweight. Okay. So I think that right there, man, like, and on another note, all those little details, like take like building arrows, for instance, and like bow tuning, just all, you can go down some real deep rabbit holes on YouTube, with all of this stuff. Okay. 3 fletch versus 4 fletch, like it's just like all these little things. Um, I, I don't want to sound mean, but I'm going to tell you right now, most of the people, they can't tell the difference. You're not that good of a shot. You're not like professional archers. Okay, they might be able to tell a little bit of difference, but a lot of them will tell you, like, dude, you're going hunting. You're aiming for a kill zone. Okay, and I'm a full believer in aim small, miss small. I really am. Okay, but a lot of this stuff is splitting hairs. And I think if people invested more of their time away from worrying about little tiny details that really don't matter that much in the end and put that time into learning about the hunting side of things, I think they would be more successful.
I think that's great advice. On the other side of that, and maybe you answered it a little bit, but what would you say is the most underrated piece of hunting equipment?
Underrated. Goodness gracious. I think that's a hard one, Ryan. I think
Sorry, man. Putting you on the
no, no,
spot here.
no, no. You're fine. You're fine. Most underrated. Um, I think that there's a lot of different ways that this can go, and I think it depends on where your priorities lie. Okay, but um, if we're talking, if when it comes to like backpack hunting, I think the items that you cannot skimp on at all are your boots and your backpack. Um, and I don't know if those are underrated because those are pretty front and center, but like those things right there, like boots, socks, the right socks, those things can ruin your hunt if they go bad. Like if you don't have the right pair of boots on, you don't have the right sock, something as simple as a sock. Okay. I hear like ultra runners talk about this. Like they're getting like really um detailed about this stuff. I heard one woman talking about, "Oh man, I made the mistake of not washing my socks before I did this ultra marathon and her feet just like blew up." Okay, socks matter, all right? So maybe that's it. Maybe it sucks, Ryan.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. I think that's really good advice. And that's been with some of the other people. I mean, I don't ask this to everybody, but as we've talked about that, your feet, I mean, when you start thinking about the miles that
Hmm.
you're putting in on your feet, I mean, that's where if your feet are killing you, it will take away those opportunities that you talked about being able to take advantage of. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
there's a bear or there's a bull or there's a buck over there, but my feet can't take it. My feet can't take that mile and a half hike to get across this valley or to go
Yep.
up this slope, and like therefore you're not going to do it. So
Yep.
I I do agree, and I've noticed like I changed last year. Started wearing some. I mean, I had some decent boots, but
Hmm.
um, but then I got me like a nice pair of Crispies,
Oh yeah.
and then I threw the sheep feet in them. And I've been out this year on those and just like hiking,
Hmm.
just putting time on the mountain, and I'm going, my feet don't bother me like
Yeah.
they had.
It matters,
And
dude.
so I think that goes a long way, and I think that's really sound advice. I hadn't thought so detailed about the socks, but there would be two things depending on the time of year. One, you don't want your feet to sweat, and
Yeah.
two, you don't want your feet to get cold. So planning for the proper weather that you're going to be in, I think
Yeah,
matters too.
that's an interesting conversation there. So I think there's only one hunt I've ever been on where I've worn insulated boots, and it was a whitetail hunt in Colorado, sitting there not doing anything in a tree. When it comes to Western hunting though, and take this for what it's worth. I don't spend a ton of time in 3 feet of snow. I live in Arizona in the desert, okay, but I do hunt in like places like Idaho and stuff in October, that can get decently cold. Um, and I do not wear super thick socks. And the reason for that is because if your feet sweat, your feet are going to get cold. Okay, so from like a Western hunter's perspective, like if you're moving, say you wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm gonna hike, I'm gonna glass for an hour and a half, and then I'm gonna hike more, and then I'm gonna set up and glass. If that's the type of hunt you're doing, man, dude, I don't wear anything really different than I wear in September in terms of socks. Um, I think what's really important about the sock side of things is the fact that like you mentioned, thickness, but also the fact that they fit and they do not move. Okay, and that's really hard to find. If a sock is moving in your boot, you can create hot spots like that in blisters. Okay, you'll also I've dang near come out of socks going down steep faces. And I get back to my tent and I take my boot off and my big toes almost through the front of my sock. Okay, like so there is something to be said about socks that have, I mean, the best ones I've found, just like I'll just throw it out there. I don't have any affiliation with this company at all, is Darn Tough. Like those are the best, like the Light Hunter, amazing sock that I use most of the year. And that thing freaking stays put, man. Like that stays put. And I think that's really beneficial, especially when you're hunting in, what I would call like busy topography. Okay.
I think that's great advice. The socks are an integral part. I also run Darn Tough socks. No affiliation, but if someone from Darn Tough is listening, please reach out to Josh and I. We'd love to help you guys out. Um, but anyway, Josh, man, I really appreciate your time. You guys, again, we'll put the link in the show notes if you can't find it, but you can follow him on Instagram at Dialed In Hunter, dialedinhunter.com. You can check out his articles that he's written. He's got links to his videos and that he's doing on there, and then check out his books as well. Becoming a Bow Hunter and Becoming a Backpack Hunter. But Josh, man, appreciate your time. And yeah, for those of you that are listening, if you've taken something valuable from this, like share it with a friend, share it with somebody that's new to hunting. We want to help everyone get a little bit better at what they do. And, if someone's new to hunting or they've had a passion for hunting their entire lives, when you guys share these podcasts, it helps algorithms. It lets all the powers that be at Apple and Spotify and YouTube know that, hey, something's happening here, and it helps pump it out to get in front of more people. And again, thank you for listening to the Hunt Stealth podcast. We are the fastest growing hunting podcast in the nation. If you say it, it becomes true. So,
Can't
Josh,
fight
man,
science, man.
yeah, can't fight it. So anyway, you guys, Josh, thanks for coming, and stay safe and God bless.